How can the life of such a man be in the palm of some fool's hand? To see him obviously framed couldn't help but make me feel ashamed to live in a land where justice is a game.
Let me bring up one question that I want to get clarity on, and that's Rich Bergeron, who was the blogger sued by Xyience for $25 million.
Yeah.
He made a claim that UFC used Xyience in order to get all that line of credit, that $325 million. That somehow Xyience is a part of it.
Oh. Well, that would be very interesting. I've never heard that. But I imagine
do you believe his claim?
I don't know whether to believe his claim, but let's imagine, this is my first time hearing about it, how would that come together if that was the case? So the UFC would go out looking for a loan. They'd have to sell people on the strength of its business. They'd have to say, look how strong we are. We're doing millions in pay-per-view. We've got millions coming in sponsorship. And therefore, we're a good risk to take in order to issue us a loan, and you should issue us a loan on good terms. If it turned out, and this is a big if because I have no idea, but if it turned out that the sponsorship money that it was reporting for the loans was actually its own money, or at least its owner's own money, and that was one of the things that got its rating on the loans, then you could have a real meaty problem, a real legal issue, civil or criminal. And so, yeah, that would be, if that turned out to have any validity to it, that would be humongous.
Well, how would you prove it?
Well, you'd have to go back and show the people who issued the loans would have to go back and say, hey, we've been ripped off, or we should have had something different, and they'd have to go back and look at what did they use to underwrite the loan, and then when they look at what they used to underwrite the loan, then they go back and they say, oh, look, you told us you were getting $15 million in sponsorship, but you didn't disclose that money was coming from you yourself. So it wasn't really $15 million in sponsorship.
Well, do you think the people that made these loans are paying attention to what Adam Swift says?
Well, no, but if the loans become a problem, they sure as hell will start looking into these things. You know, nobody's upset while things are working well.
I see. Now, let's give an update on the Xyience against Rich Bergeron lawsuit. Originally, they filed a lawsuit against him claiming defamation and all sorts of other characterizations for the sum total of $25 million. And because he's representing himself and doesn't have an attorney, this has been quite the interesting case. The claim, apparently, from one source I've talked with, is that Xyience has now dropped their asking price of $25 million down to $84,000. Now, of course, during this whole lawsuit, there's been the issue of Xyience filing for Chapter 11. And they had originally had an attorney named Jamie Cogburn who was doing the lawsuit against Rich Bergeron. He backed out of the case, and there's been a new attorney taking over. And the question I guess I have is, if Xyience can't get any money out of Rich Bergeron, what's the point of this lawsuit?
I don't know. I mean, they're probably trying to make sure people don't say bad things about him. I mean, pretty simple. You know, like, you have a guy out there who's disparaging your company. For some reason, you take it personally. You got the money. You got the access to the attorneys. He's a small guy. You go and sue him for $85 million and try to crush him.
Can he get it this time? And it's all over! Whoa, what a submission! Boom!